Hello guys and welcome to my 8.2 Assassination Rogue guide. My name is Squiggle and today I'm going to be teaching you guys the best way to do the top damage in both Mythic Plus and raiding scenarios. I'm going to start off with a disclaimer that the Assassination Rogue is completely busted in both keys and raids. So if you put a little bit of time into one of these characters, you're just going to be topping in no time. It is probably the best class when it comes to, well, indefinitely the best class when it comes to Mythic Plus. Outlaw and Assassination are still by far the bee's knees. And then for raiding, it just speaks for itself. Every single kill has basically at least 2 Assassination Rogues in it. So if you're a melee DPS and you're playing this spec, then you're pretty much laughing. Now, the reason that I'm making this guide at this time is because Method did just kill Ashvane. They just released the world first video, and I'm actually starting to sound a little bit like a human again. For the last couple of days, I've been sounding like I was trapped in a fridge. Hello guys, and welcome to my new video on how to play TFT in the current patch 9.14b. And before that, I sounded like my whole house was vibrating. Hello guys and welcome to my 8.1.5 Crucible of the Storms Shadow Priest guide. So now that I've got a proper mic that's actually working, I can start pumping out the content and talking about the things that I love, aka doing huge sick damage. In this guide, I'm going to have a brief comprehension about what we should be doing with our essences, with our traits, talents, all that good jazz, stats, and you guys know the rest. I'm also going to be showing what's going to be different when it comes to AoE scenarios and Mythic Plus, and what is going to be different in Raid, because I can tell you guys that they are extremely different, and mastering both of these and knowing how to switch in between will make you overall a fantastic rogue player. So without further ado, here is my Assassination Rogue guide, and I hope you guys enjoy. So since the last time that I was making guides, there have been a lot of essences that have been coming out, and people have been farming frantically in order to get their best in slot essences and get them to rank 3. Now the reason for this is these essences are extremely powerful in both Raid and Mythic Plus, and I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown of what is good for both of these scenarios. So when it comes to pure single target, we're going to see that Condensed Life Force and Memory of Lucid Dreams are very strong, followed closely by Blood of the Enemy. Now, as I'll show you guys in a second, Blood of the Enemy is actually extremely good when it comes to multi-target situations with the Echoing Blades trait. So what we can do is for Raid, we can safely go for the Condensed Life Force or the Memory of Lucid Dreams, and everything will be all good. One thing that I am going to add as well is that when it comes to these essences, the Memory of Lucid Dreams is 2 minutes, whereas the Condensed Life Force is 3 minutes. So if you are running into a fight with, say, 3-minute 30 duration, then the Condensed Life Force will pull ahead slightly. However, if you are going for a shorter fight where you can get 2 Memory of Lucid Dreams off, but not 2 Condensed Life Force, then the Memory of Lucid Dreams will in fact overtake this. Now, not to mention, this is also going to be lining up perfectly with our Vendetta, so it actually does have a nice feel to it, and we can sort of macro things in, make everything nice and cozy there. Now another thing I might add is that Memory of Lucid Dreams is the strongest when it comes to rank 1, so if you don't have too much time to farm these or you're just starting out on the rogue, I recommend you guys start off on Memory of Lucid Dreams. The first rank only takes about half an hour to 40 minutes or something to farm, so if you're playing an alt, this is the one for you. Next up, we want to look at what sort of traits we want to be going for single target or AoE scenarios. Now to start off with, this is just a pure single target boss, assuming you only get to stealth once at the start of the fight, and we can see the Undulating Tides, Double Dose, Nothing Personal, and Blightborn Infusion are our best by a little bit. Now, one thing that I am going to add is that if you do ever drop below 50%, your Undulating Tides is going to get completely massacred, which makes it sort of a dead trait, and for that reason, I highly recommend that you do not run any of this trait. Its DPS gain compared to some other traits is so small that it is just not worth the fallback. Like, you could accidentally just stand in something, or like a healer's just asleep or something. You know, these things happen so regularly. And if that happens, then you're just going to get completely binned on when it comes to damage. Now, Double Dose and Nothing Personal are both extremely strong when it comes to single target, and Blightborn Infusion is actually really strong in both single target and AoE scenarios. Double Dose, however, I will add that when it comes to 3+ target or 2+ target when you have a lot of crit, is actually going to be insanely devalued. Now, for this reason, it is purely a single target trait, and the same sort of thing goes with Nothing Personal. Having one for Mythic Plus is okay, stacking it for Mythic Plus is definitely not what you want to do. What we are going to look at though, when it comes to our AoE situations, is we are going to have a look at Shrouded Suffocation and Echoing Blades. I recommend that if you guys can get it, triple Shrouded and triple Echoing Blades is extremely strong. If you do get a nice high Blightborn Infusion piece from one of your World Quest caches, I recommend that you guys run this as well if you can't get, say, 3 Echoing Blades. Now, the reason for this is when you are doing Mythic Plus, you're going to have multiple characters that you can use your Garrote on when you are coming from your subterfuge window. Now, what this means is that you can keep 3 to 6 to 9 things, if you're a Night Elf, dotted at all times, which gives you really nice energy regen and an insane amount of priority damage. After this, when it comes to Echoing Blades, if you do get enough crit and enough Echoing Blades, then you can actually start to use your Fan of Knives when it comes to 2+ target. One of the really good rogues that I run with at the moment, he runs 3 of these and he does ludicrous damage. It is awesome. Get this and get this, get a nice amount of crit for your Mythic Plus. I highly recommend it. So now we are going to have a quick look at what sort of trinkets you want to be going for single target and AoE situations. So looking at the pure single target here, we're going to see that Ashvane's Razor Coral is going to be our best trinket, followed by the Ajara's Font of Power. Now remember, the thing about Ajara's Font of Power that is extremely strong is that you can cast it pre-pull in both raid scenarios and in Mythic Plus scenarios. So make sure that if you are running this trinket in your opener, you're making sure that you are running this 4 seconds before you jump into your stealth window. After this, we have Lurker's Insidious Gift. Now, of course, this is going to have quite a big downfall in that you're going to get trucked, especially if you have a very high version of this trinket. Next up, we can just see that there's going to be some from Mythic Plus that are going to be quite strong. As well as ones from PvP that you can run if you don't have the raid trinkets. Now, the First Mate Spyglass and the Lustrous Golden Plumage are extremely good when it comes to Mythic Plus, and make sure that you are farming your Mythic Plus outside of the times when you are raiding. Next up, I'm going to have a quick look at what sort of trinkets are going to be best for our AoE situations. Now, Ashvane's Razor Coral and Ajara's Font of Power, as you guys can see, is really nuts. The fact that Ajara's Font of Power even has some crit on it makes it extremely good for Mythic Plus. And if you guys can't get these or a Dribbling Ink Pod, make sure that you guys get your hands on a Deadeye Spyglass. When this comes to huge AoE scenarios, this is going to scale so freaking strong. The amount of damage that you can get onto your Echoing Blades is going to be so nutty. This is by far one of the best trinkets in the game for the rogue, and if you're an enthusiast of Mythic Plus, just make sure that you can convince some people to run Siege of Borealis a few times, and hopefully you can get lucky for one of these trinkets. So now we're going to have a very brief look over what sort of talents we want to be going for the rogue in Mythic Plus and in raid scenarios. So for our raiding set, we are going to go Elaborate Planning, Master Assassin, Vigor, Cheat Death, Iron Wire, Toxic Blade, and Poison Bomb. Now the only time that you would really change this is if you were going Subterfuge, if you had a lot of Shrouded Suffocation traits that you just can't really shake. Now, when it comes to AoE scenarios and Mythic Plus scenarios, we actually want to change to something a little bit funkier. So we want to swap our Master Assassin over to Subterfuge, and we want to swap our Poison Bomb over to Hidden Blades, unless you're doing a dungeon like King's Rest or Temple or something where there's not a lot of huge targets that you can really go off on with your Hidden Blades talent. So the reason for this is, of course, you are going to be running the Echoing Blades and the Shrouded Suffocation for Mythic Plus, and just remember, when you change to Subterfuge, opener is going to be incredibly different from the opener that we are going to see from Master Assassin, which I am going to get into later. So now I'm going to very briefly go over what sort of races you want to go on the Rogue. Now, if you are on the Alliance side, if you are playing Mythic Plus, make sure you are going Night Elf. Like, just without a doubt, go Night Elf. It is, like, so much more broken than anything else. Like, this sim doesn't even do it any justice on how broken Night Elf Rogue is as an Assassination Rogue. So, just make sure that doesn't really matter what you go when it comes to other stuff. You know, for single target, there's like a very slight difference between like gnome, void elf, human, and all that stuff. But when it comes to Mythic Plus, if you are an alliance character, make sure that you go night elf. And if you're a horde character, well, I'm sorry, but unfortunately you can't go night elf. So next up, we're going to have a brief look at what sort of stats that you want to go when it comes to single target. So on single target, you want to go for critical strike over haste up to a certain cap. So when it comes to crit and haste, you want to sort of balance these. You want to keep them about 50-50 and make sure that you guys are checking pawn every once in a while. You generally just want to go for both of these stats, and when it comes to your gems and enchants, just make sure that they're pretty balanced and that your simcraft isn't saying that one is heavily outweighing the other one. After this, versatility and mastery are kind of good, and agility is, you know, it's a bit monk-esque, but we're still going to be making sure that we get one agility gem in. And of course, as you guys can see by the weapon DPS, just make sure that you have a huge weapon in offhand. Doesn't matter what it is, just a huge dagger, doesn't matter about the stats. Now, when it comes to Mythic Plus situations, just remember that haste is going to be severely devalued from what we're looking at now, and mastery is going to be slightly less valued. So essentially what we want to be doing is spamming as much critical strike as we can. It's going to make our echoing blades go extremely nuts, and the top rogue that I see run at the moment basically has over 40% crit. So there is never enough crit when it comes to a rogue doing Assass in Mythic Plus. So the reason that we want to get extra versatility is just because we want this to be doing even more damage. Versatility and mastery also do help us with our dots, which are still doing a considerable amount of our damage as well. So make sure that you guys are spamming as much crit and versatility as possible, and try to avoid haste at all costs. Next up, I'm going to show you guys the single target opener and rotation for the Assassination Rogue. And with me right now is going to be Ash Flash from, honestly, one of the best rogues in our region. So starting off, he is going to go with a Mutilate into a Rupture, into another Mutilate, followed by a Garrote. After this, he's going to use his Vendetta and Toxic Blade, and then he's going to use his Vanish, Envenom, Mutilate, and Envenom. After this, he's basically going to make sure that he is using his Rupture and Garrote inside the Pandemic window. The Pandemic window for Rupture is going to be 7.2 seconds, and the Pandemic window for Garrote is going to be 5.4 seconds. Now after this, you guys can see that he is going to be pooling for his Toxic Blade window, and here you can see that every single Toxic Blade is getting roughly at least 2 Envenoms in. Most of the time he's getting 3 Envenoms in, which is basically what you want to be running on the Assassination Rogue. Now remember, if you guys are running Condensed Life Force or Lucid Dream, or even Blood of the Enemy, make sure that you use it in this rotation just before you use your Vendetta. Now I'm going to show you guys the second POV of the player that I run with quite a lot. His name is Sabin, and he does a lot of Mythic Plus. This guy does obscene amounts of damage, as you guys can see. I've even raised my camera a bit just so you guys can see his damage on the last time that he was streaming. So what you want to do in Mythic Plus is you basically want to be getting 3 Garrotes out at the start of the fight, and then you want to get down a single Rupture. After this, you are literally just going to be spamming your Fan of Knives until there are going to be times when your bleeds are running off the targets. When your bleeds are running off the targets, you want to make sure that you are putting Ruptures on them, or you want to make sure that you are vanishing or using your Night Elf Racial to make sure that you are getting more of these Garrotes on your enemies. Now this is going to lead to an insane amount of damage both on 3 and more targets. So after this, you want to just make sure that you are spamming your fan of knives as much as possible. Now, you want to make sure that you are fan of knivesing as much as you have energy to do so. And if you are overcapping your energy, it simply means that you have too many of your ruptures out. So make sure that you guys are min-maxing this, make sure that you aren't overcapping too much on energy, and once you get the feel for it, you're going to be doing some disgusting damage. Like outlaw rogues won't be able to keep up with you. God forbid no other class will be able to keep up with you at all. So as previously stated, Blood of the Enemy is actually going to be our best trait when it comes to these AoE situations. Make sure that you are using it as soon as you've applied your garrotes and your ruptures. You use your Blood of the Enemy and then you just spam Fan of Knives over and over again. Now that just about wraps up my guide for the Assassination Rogue in 8.2. If you have any other questions about other things such as macros or other things that I didn't really fully cover in this video, like talents and such, make sure that you guys check my last Assassination Rogue video. I'm pretty sure I went over talents and macros a little more in that video, but this time there was so much dense information about rotation in both single target and AoE scenarios that I felt like that was too filling, and I didn't want this to be like a 30+ minute video. So I'm basically trying to keep it as short and sweet as possible while still having that dense information in the meantime. Thanks for watching guys, and I hope you guys have a good day.